Hello friends, you're on the Last Days channel. Thank you so much for your engagement and support. And so, a review of events for the 12th of July. Scientists recently conducted a study and named the number of victims of abnormal heat in Europe in 2022. As it turned out, more than 60,000 people died because of extreme temperatures. The summer of 2022 became the hottest in history, bringing also drought and forest fires. Climatologists have previously reported that warming in Europe is progressing faster than in other parts of the world. The European Union's statistics agency also reported an unusually high increase in summer deaths, but the percentage of heat-related fatalities was initially unknown. In the new study, a team of experts analyzed temperature and mortality data from 2015 to 2022 in 35 European countries. These territories are home to a total of 543 million people. The authors developed computer models to predict heat-related deaths in each region and for each summer week in 2022. The calculation showed that 61,672 people fell victim to extremely high temperatures from May 30th to September 4th. The period from June 18th to June 24th was the most severe, accounting for more than 11,600 deaths. The highest number of victims was observed in Italy, followed by Spain and Germany. Most of those who died were elderly people over 80 and 63% of them were women. Experts have warned that if nothing is done to combat warming, by 2030 Europe will lose about 70,000 people to heat waves every summer. This figure will only rise in the following decades. These results are alarming and point to the need for action to combat climate change. European governments must take responsibility for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and reducing dependence on fossil fuels. It is also necessary to take measures to adapt to climate change in order to reduce its negative effects on the population. Mexico's Popocatépetl volcano continues to be active, having already produced 50 emissions recently. According to the National Disaster Prevention Center, the emissions are accompanied by water vapor, volcanic gases, and small amounts of ash. In addition, 213 minutes of tremor were recorded, as well as 13 minutes of low-frequency harmonic tremor. A tectonic earthquake of magnitude 3.4 on the Richter scale was also recorded at 22:45. The Popocatépetl volcano is one of the largest active volcanoes in Mexico. Its height is about 5,500 meters. It is located 55 kilometers from the capital Mexico City. At the moment, experts do not declare an increase in the danger level and do not recommend evacuation of the population. However, residents of the region are asked to be vigilant and follow the news. Flooding has occurred in Turkey with serious consequences. One life was lost and more than 1,000 landslides occurred in some provinces of the country. The State Meteorological Service declared an orange alert due to heavy rains that paralyzed life in central and western parts of the Black Sea region. In the towns of Zangildak and Bartın, residential houses and businesses were flooded, while streets and roads turned into waterlogged zones. Authorities urged residents to heed the orange warning and recommended staying away from high-risk areas such as stream beds. The flooding also led to road closures in many key communities in the western parts of the Black Sea region. Due to landslides in the Balu Tunnel, one of the key points for intercity transportation, traffic on the Ankara-Istanbul direction was closed. The situation remains tense and the authorities are continuing their flood relief efforts. A heavy downpour with large hail occurred in the Lazarevsky district of Sochi, causing significant damage to private houses and cars. However, according to the press service of the Sochi administration, no one was injured. Heavy precipitation did not last long, but managed to cause damage in Asha, where citizens reported partial damage to the roofs of houses and cars by hail. Employees of the district administration were sent to the scene to monitor the situation and provide necessary assistance to the residents. According to preliminary data, there were no casualties and no infrastructure was damaged. However, the hail caused traffic difficulties on the Jubga-Sochi highway, where several trees fell. According to the Krasnodar Center for Hydrometeorology and the Ministry of Environment, the diameter of the largest hail in Sochi reaches 35 millimeters. Earlier it was reported about tornadoes formed over the sea in Tuaps. A storm warning is in effect in the region due to the threat of heavy downpours with hail, rising water levels in rivers and strong winds. Employees of the district administration continue to work at the scene and provide assistance to the injured.
Это что такое вообще? Это что такое?
The Kuril volcano Ebika on the island of Paramushir became active again on Wednesday, ejecting ash to a height of 1.5 kilometers. According to the Cyclone Volcanic Eruption Response Team, the plume from the release spread southward, more than 5 kilometers. However, no ashfall was observed in the town of Severokurilsk and no hydrogen sulfide odor was felt. Ebika volcano has a height of 1,156 meters and is located 7 kilometers from Severokurilsk. It belongs to the ancient dormant volcanoes and last erupted in 2012. The period of quiescence lasted until October 2016. The heaviest rain in history has caused deadly floods and landslides in southwestern Japan. More than 400 millimeters of rain has fallen in the past 24 hours, leaving 6 people dead and 3 missing. Residents of Kyushu, one of Japan's 4 main islands, have been warned by Japan's meteorological agency to be vigilant and to be wary of more landslides, which often occur in mountainous areas after heavy rains. On Tuesday, however, the agency downgraded an earlier special warning of heavy rains that applied to more than 2 million people in the northern parts of the island. The situation is so serious that people's lives are at risk and their safety must be ensured. Japan has suffered unusually heavy rains and powerful typhoons in recent years, raising concerns about its vulnerability to a climate crisis. This is the heaviest rain the region has ever seen, according to a meteorological agency spokesman. Floods and landslides have caused the destruction of many homes and roads, as well as interrupting rail and road traffic. Rescue services are currently working at full capacity to help those affected and to find people who are missing. Japan's Government Disaster Commission has already started work to assess the damage caused by the rain and flooding. Local residents are urged to be cautious and not to go out on the streets unless absolutely necessary. In such a situation, everyone tries to be as vigilant and responsible as possible in order to preserve their lives and the lives of their loved ones. In Turkey, forest fires that have been burning for 2 days in the vicinity of the city of Izmir on the Aegean coast have not subsided. According to the latest data, the fire has covered more than 10,000 hectares of territory, and it was only partially localized. More than 2,000 firefighters, 11 helicopters and 7 airplanes are involved in the fight against the elements. However, extinguishing is hampered by strong winds and heat up to 40 degrees Celsius. According to local authorities, the fire has engulfed the industrial areas of Ali Aga and Mendels, and also approached residential areas. 2 houses have been reported burned, but there are no reports of injuries or fatalities yet. Most residents have been evacuated, but there are some who refuse to leave their homes. Local authorities are urging people to stay safe and follow firefighters' instructions. The situation remains tense and firefighters still have a lot of work to do to extinguish the flames and prevent further spread of the fire. Nature continues to test the strength of the inhabitants of the earth. In Brazil, there was a natural disaster that caused a lot of casualties and destruction. Several areas of the state of São Paulo were flooded due to unusually heavy rains that caused flooding and landslides. According to the latest reports, more than 40 people have died, but the number could be even higher as several communities remained blocked. The worst situation was in the state of São Paulo, where at least 19 people have died. A month's worth of rain fell in one day, destroying homes and disrupting communications in the region with coastal areas and neighboring Rio de Janeiro. Local authorities report dozens of people trapped under rubble. A state of emergency has been declared in 5 municipalities affected by the disaster. Rescuers continue to work at the scene, but the incessant rains are making it difficult for them to reach the blocked communities. Hail clouds passed over Crimea last night, causing serious damage to the peninsula's farms. According to preliminary data, about 140 hectares of land were damaged by hail. In Nizhnegorsk district, hail captured the Vesna State Farm, and in Belogorsk district, many farms were affected. The hail cloud passed from Krasnoperkopsk district to Sudak at a speed of about 100 km per hour. Anti-hail cannons were unable to stop precipitation of such force, resulting in irreparable losses for local residents. Crimean authorities have already started assessing the damage and taking measures to help the victims. An unusual phenomenon, a water tornado, has occurred in the Philippines. Residents of Barangay Quilim neighborhood in Baybay town on Leyte Island witnessed a tornado at 16:37 local time. Videos and photos of the phenomenon were taken. The weather was hot before the appearance of the water tornado, but the whirlwind lasted only 10 minutes. Some residents were frightened and stopped, but fortunately no one was injured as a result. After the tornado dissipated, a heavy downpour began. According to reports, there was no destruction and no injuries. But such a phenomenon still causes concern among the locals. Sudden flooding in the northeastern United States has caused a disaster. Torrential downpours caused rivers to overflow, roads to be washed away, and residents to be in danger. At least one person died and a woman was swept away by the flood in front of her fiancé. 50 rescues were conducted. More than 13 million Americans from eastern New York State to Boston and western Maine were under a flood warning from the U.S. National Weather Service. More than 1,000 flights across the region, including New York and Boston, were delayed or canceled due to heavy rains. However, it's not just the northeastern United States that is experiencing weather-related disasters. A week of storms and last night's torrential rain with hail caused Oklahoma City residents to wake up in the morning to find hundreds of dead birds in the streets. The nonprofit Animal Rehabilitation Center received numerous calls about the hundreds or more purple martins that died as a result of the storm and hail. Thanks to community support, a small number of birds were rescued from the colony. Natural disasters not only threaten the lives of people, but animals as well. But thanks to the strength of all people, we can help those who are in trouble. Oklahoma recently had a terrible accident. A large hailstorm caused extensive damage to wildlife. 174 animals were affected, mostly birds, including purple martin, great-tailed rake, doves, and European starlings. While this is not the first time weather damage has occurred to Oklahoma's wildlife, each time it is deeply disturbing. One previous case was an entire colony of pelicans that fell victim to the destructive force of hail. In addition, large hail can also affect humans, horses, raccoons, and any other animals in the path of the elements. The effects of hail are not limited to just the animals affected. To ensure the safety and well-being of people and wildlife, it is important to assess the damage caused by high winds and precipitation. The Etna volcano in Italy has become active again. Although the volcano has been quiet in recent weeks, there was a sudden eruption of ash from the southeastern crater this morning. The eruption lasted about 2 minutes and produced a dense brown ash plume that quickly dissipated to the southwest. No official statement has yet been issued from the Volcano Observatory, but experts speculate that it was an internal phreatic explosion caused by the interaction of trapped water with hot rocks or residual magma within the conduit. Although no significant changes in the volcanic tremor have been noticed, it is a reminder that the Etna volcano remains active and could manifest its power at any time. Heavy rains hit the plains of northern India, causing serious problems for local residents. Several landslides occurred in mountainous areas and snow fell in the city of Ladakh. Delhi, the capital of India, had received 153 millimeters of rainfall by 8:30 in the morning, the highest since July 1982. Consequently, the chief minister announced that all schools would be temporarily closed due to the incessant rains. The water level in the Yamuna River is about to exceed the dangerous 205 meters mark. Damage to buildings and infrastructure due to torrential rains was noticed in some parts of Delhi, and Kannauj Place was completely flooded. Government officials had to cancel vacations due to the emergency. The rainy season lasts from June to September in India and is usually accompanied by massive floods and landslides. The situation remains tense and residents call for vigilance and caution. Meteorologists warn that the rains will continue for a few more days and recommend residents of the region to observe safety measures and follow the news. Public evacuation in Vermont, USA. Vermont has faced devastating flooding in recent days due to heavy rainfall. Several areas of the state have been inundated, leading to evacuations and rescue operations. One of the areas affected by the flooding was the town of Ludlow in Virginia. Here, rain caused devastating flooding that led to the evacuation of residents and damage to many buildings. Other parts of Vermont also experienced flash flooding. About 15 people were rescued from a tent camp in Andover, where up to 150 millimeters of rain fell overnight. According to the National Weather Service, parts of southern and central Vermont received more than 120 millimeters of rain. With major flooding across the region, a spokesman for Vermont Emergency Management said rescue crews responded quickly to 10 separate